There was once a time on the land of Bhartavarsh when North India was grappling with political instability, conflicts, and foreign invasions. This region, having just been freed from the terror of the Hunas, was trying to rediscover itself. But then, from the dust of history emerges a name, Harshavardhana, a king who reunites North India, an emperor whose fame reaches as far as China, and a time after which India once again begins to divide in three directions. This is the story of Emperor Harshavardhana, a chapter where an emperor rises, but after his fall, a great struggle for supremacy begins. A childhood raised in royal shadows, but burning with inner turmoil. Around the year 590 CE, when Emperor Pratiharas of the Vardhan dynasty sat on the throne of Thanesar, his youngest son was born Harshavardhana. At that time, Thanesar had become a major power in North India. Pratiharas had fought bravely against the Hunas and pushed them back. He called himself Param Bhagavata, a devoted worshipper of Lord Vishnu. But the eyes of the ruling emperor were always occupied with wars. And in the meantime, his sons and daughters were slowly growing up. Harsha's childhood passed in palaces, but these palaces were never completely secure. His elder brother Rajyavardhana, sister Rajyashri, and mother Yogini Devi, all three had lives entangled in political complexities. The father's illness and the first crack in a breaking family. After years of struggle, when Pratiharas grew old, his health began to deteriorate. Rajyavardhana had already proven himself in knowledge and valor. He was considered the heir. But then an incident shook the entire Vardhan family. Rajyashri was married to the king of Kannauj, Grahavarman. This was a political alliance. But time took a tragic turn. While Pratiharas was battling illness, the king of Malwa, Devgupta, attacked Kannauj. Grahavarman was killed, and Rajyashri was taken captive and imprisoned. When this news reached Thanesar, the heart of the ailing emperor broke. He passed away within a few days. Rajyavardhana's journey of revenge, and the second blow to Harsha's life. Mourning his father's death, Rajyavardhana immediately marched with his army towards Kannauj. His objective was clear: to free his sister and avenge the murder of Grahavarman. He defeated Devgupta. But the story does not end there. Behind the power of Malwa stood another force, Shashanka, the king of Gauda. This was the same Shashanka who had destroyed Buddha's idols and wanted to expand the power of Bengal. Shashanka deceitfully invited Rajyavardhana into his camp and murdered him there. When Harsha received this news, he was only a 16-17-year-old youth. His father was gone, his brother had been murdered, his sister was imprisoned by enemies. In a single moment, it was as if his entire world had collapsed. Harsha's coronation, the journey from prince to emperor. Now the responsibility of the kingdom came upon the shoulders of that young man who was still struggling with grief and loss. But perhaps history had shaped him for this very day. He ascended the throne and became Harshavardhana. He prioritized the release of his sister. Armies were sent to the borders of Kannauj and Malwa. Devgupta had already been defeated. Now it was Shashanka's turn. Harsha freed Rajyashri. But by then the humiliation and sorrow she had suffered had broken her. It is said that Rajyashri tried to commit self-immolation, but Harsha saved her. He promised his sister, "No sister shall ever be humiliated before her brother's eyes by an enemy again." Capital Kannauj and the reconstruction of India. Harsha made Kannauj his capital. This city was no longer just a political center. It became a cultural, intellectual, and spiritual hub. Harsha organized the administration on one hand, and on the other revived religion and culture. In his court were poets like Banbhata, who composed epics like Harshcharita. Though inclined towards Buddhism, Harsha gave equal respect to all religions. Xuanzang's journey to India when the world saw India. At this time, a famous Buddhist monk from China, Xuanzang, came to India. He witnessed Harsha's empire and was impressed by his policies, justice, and religious devotion. Xuanzang wrote, "King Harsha respects all religions. He is sad in the sorrow of his people and happy in their joy. Every 5 years, he organizes a grand donation festival like the Kumbh, in which the entire kingdom gathers." His account gives us a glimpse into India of that time, where governance, culture, and compassion walked together. The confluence of Harsha and religion. Harshavardhana was born into a Brahmin family, but over time his inclination turned towards the Mahayana branch of Buddhism. He propagated Buddhism but never considered other religions inferior. White-right pointing backhand index, he built temples, stupas, and monasteries for Buddha, Shiva, and Vishnu alike. White-right pointing backhand index, he himself composed Buddhist texts. Plays like Nagananda, Ratnavali, and Priyadarshika are his creations. In Harsha's era, religious tolerance was an ideal. Administration and justice system. Harsha implemented an organized administrative system in his empire. The empire was divided into Bhukti, then Vishaya, and then villages. Officials like Uparika, Vishpati, and Gramika ran the local administration. There were separate courts for justice, and punishments were given only based on the seriousness of the crime, not based on caste or class. His administrative system was developed on the model of the Gupta Empire, but it had more compassion and religious inclusion. An emperor dedicated to the people. Every 5 years, Harsha organized the Mahamocha festival. White-right pointing backhand index in this, he donated all his possessions, gold, silver, clothes, elephants, horses, everything. Harsha believed that the duty of a king is service, not just rule. This outlook made him different from other kings. Expansion of the empire, a dream of one Bharatvarsh. Now Harsha began to see politics not through war, but through a broad vision. He did not only seek revenge, he envisioned a united Bharatvarsh. From Kashmir in the north to Bengal in the east, and south to the Narmada River, Harsha's influence spread. He made Kannauj his capital, a new center from where administration was conducted. His administration was organized, secular, and culturally rich. Buddhists, Jains, and Brahmins all were given equal status. Harsha himself was a Shaiva, but he gave full patronage to Buddhist monks, Rishabh, Dharmpala, and especially the Chinese traveler Xuanzang are proof of this. The peak and the clash, a step towards the south. The emperor had now become the undisputed leader of North India, but now his gaze turned south. He wanted to cross the Narmada, but here he encountered the Chalukya Emperor Pulakeshin II. Pulakeshin was a very powerful king who had organized South India. Harsha's army kept trying to cross the Narmada, but Pulakeshin's strategy and valor forced Harsha to retreat. Historians write that this was the only war in which Harshavardhana had to face defeat. Harsha's cultural era, revival of knowledge, art, and institutions. Despite the defeat, Harsha's focus shifted from war to cultural construction. He promoted cultural traditions like the Kumbh Mela, where sages, monks, and scholars from around the world gathered. He himself wrote plays in Sanskrit like Nagananda, Ratnavali, and Priyadarshika. Xuanzang described his court and generosity wonderfully, how Harsha washed the feet of monks and served them food with his own hands. This was the form of an emperor, where power, compassion, and culture walked together. Harsha's death and the disintegration of the empire. But when Harsha died in 647 CE, he had no sons. Neither did he appoint a successor, nor did he leave behind a strong council of ministers. A vacuum of power emerged. And to fill this void, 3 great dynasties of India stepped forward: Trident emblem Gurjara Pratiharas, Northwest India; Rashtrakutas, Southwest India; prayer beads Palas, Bengal and Bihar. The tripartite struggle, 3 powers, 1 goal, Kannauj. Now the richest city of India, Kannauj, had become important religiously, culturally, and strategically. And three powers began to clash to control it. Shield 1. Palas, Bongol, Dharmpala and Devpala. The Pala rulers who supported Buddhism first took control of Kannauj. Dharmpala held a council there and declared himself Emperor of North India. But this position did not last long. Crossed swords too. Rashtrakutas, South, Dhruv and Govinda III. The Rashtrakutas attacked from the south. They defeated both the Palas and the Pratiharas and took control of Kannauj. But to maintain their rule in the south, they had to return. Shield 3. Gurjara Pratiharas, Nagbhata and Mihira Bhoja. The warriors of Rajputana and North India, the Pratiharas, managed to hold control of Kannauj the longest. Mighty rulers like Mihira Bhoja challenged and defeated both the Palas and the Rashtrakutas. Kannauj became the center of conflict. India divided into three powers. This era of the tripartite struggle continued for 200 years. And the result of this struggle was, India once again became politically fragmented. No power could establish a fully stable empire. This created the ground for future Turkic invasions. The era of Harshavardhana was a confluence of culture, compassion, and strength in Indian history. But after his death, the vacuum that was created marked the beginning of an age of struggles. This struggle was not only for Kannauj, but a battle for India's political stability, religion, and balance of power. Friends, this was the complete saga of Harshavardhana and the tripartite struggle. If you like this story, subscribe to the World Insights channel and tell us in the comments, according to you, who is the most powerful king in Indian history? Speech Balloon. In the next video, we will learn how new kingdoms and sultanates rose in India's medieval politics after this tripartite struggle. Stay connected. Jai Hind Indian.